Hello friends, welcome back. Today I am going to make a 12 by 12 layout using the Primavera collection from Rosie Studios. I really haven't put this collection down since I opened it up, and I haven't made a 12 by 12 layout with it, so that's what I'm going to do today. Now I've got some pink cardstock here. This is not from this collection. This was from the Rosie Studios, I think it was Born to Bloom collection, the cardstock pack, but it's the perfect pink. It matches this collection absolutely perfectly, and it was kind of a good excuse to use this sort of half cut filed piece of cardstock. I have trimmed down one of the pattern papers. I think I trimmed about 3.5 inches off the bottom of it, and just adhered it along the bottom edge, and then I could trim back some of that cardstock so that the layout's not too thick, but also I can use this pretty pink elsewhere. This kind of layout I've done many times before. I love the look of it. It's the perfect way to get a lot of kind of pattern and color onto a layout, but I also feel like it's a really good way to use up some of your pattern paper scraps. When I'm working with these collections, I tend to keep every tiny little scrappy bit of paper I can because they're all so pretty. And then you get to put them all together on a layout like this, and they all just work perfectly together. So I had some scraps from the multitude of other projects that I've used this collection for. I haven't done videos for very many of them. I think there's a couple of videos for my patrons, but otherwise you can check out all of the projects over on my Instagram. The links are below in the description box. Once I got all of these papers kind of arranged how I wanted to, and some of the patterns are from 12 by 12 pages, some of them are from the 6 by 6 paper pad, so there's different kind of size variations in here. I'm going to really lightly adhere them, and it's literally just to stop them shuffling around between my desk and the sewing machine, because that's how I'm really going to adhere them down. I'm going to take them over to my sewing machine and just do some really messy stitching. I think I went back and forth maybe 6-7 times, just all over the middle of these layers. They all kind of line up along the center of where that cardstock and background paper line up. And I went wavy all over the place. It's very hard to see, and I will end up covering up a fair amount of them. But I am going to add just a tiny little bit of liquid adhesive. You can see me just very carefully peeling back that paper, adding some liquid into here, and then pressing that all down. Very easy way to get everything adhered properly. The reason I do the stitching first is just a personal preference, because my sewing machine hates to stitch over adhesive. It turns into a battle royale, really. So I do myself a favor, do the stitching first, and then add the adhesive in afterwards. That way everything stays nice and stuck down, and I don't have to cry when my sewing machine won't cooperate. I've got a 4x4 photo of my beautiful baby Pearl. I did turn this photo into a black and white photo so that it would just coordinate nicely with the collection. I really want the kind of pinks and oranges here to stand out. And then I'm going to get ahead and just start embellishing. I really loved some of these chipboard frames, and again, I really want to keep that color scheme going, so I am being a little bit selective about what I use on this layout color wise. There are a lot of colors in this collection. It's not just pink, as I would have you believe, but those are the colors, the kind of pinks and the oranges that I'm going to stick with in this layout. So I did start off, I kind of go back and forth a little bit. I did start off with the chipboard frames, one under the photo, and one that I kind of used to frame a little quote. And you can see me pulling out some of these die cut pieces here. It's a reasonably flat layout, this one, apart from the chipboard. Everything is pretty one-dimensional. I did add a little bit of foam behind my photo, but that's really it. But once I started looking at what I was going to use for a title, and I do end up using this die cut here that says "Hello, Lovely," I really didn't love all of the other words with the title. It kind of takes the focus away from it. There is not an alpha with this collection, so I am using the die cut in place of the alpha. And I just couldn't make those other die cuts work with the text in them. So I'm going to change things up a little bit. You'll see, instead of going through the literally hundreds of die cuts, I already did a bit of a selection before I sat down to work on this layout, pulled out ones from the kind of colors that I liked, or just patterns or sentiments or pieces that I liked. It just makes it easier. I have less choices to make, I guess. And one of those choices that I pulled out was some more kind of wordy, quotey kind of die cuts, but I'm changing direction here. I'm gonna swap things out. I wanted to use a third frame. There were only 2 of the chipboard frames. There is a third frame, and it does work that it's orange, but it's kind of more of an oval shape. Once I started pulling out some of those rounded shapes, I kind of took them off the layout. I didn't want to add a rounded chipboard shape in there, but I did want a third. I love 3s. I wanted to make the 3s work. There is this little cardstock frame here. So it's slightly different in that it's not dimensional, but it does give me that kind of three Polaroid-y kind of frames. And I'm going to do the same sort of thing with florals. So I do technically have 4 in here, but 2 of them are underneath my photo, and I'm kind of counting that as 1. So the rest of it, I'm just filling in some of these kind of gaps, the visual gaps. I'm trying to put the embellishments kind of where the pattern papers overlap each other, as kind of joining pieces, and then I can go ahead and start adhering things down. So I am carefully kind of going to adhere some of these things down one at a time, trying not to move anything too much. It's one of my kind of pet peeves when I go ahead and lay everything out how I want it to go, and then I can never get them just not quite back in the same place. I have tried many different techniques. This one where I kind of am just carefully putting everything back into place sort of works for me. But I mean, if you've got any tips, please let me know, because honestly, it causes me no end of frustration. Now, because I had those florals in there, it introduced a little bit of green. And so I've made a purposeful decision to add some of the green kind of floral leaves in there as well, so that those little bits of green don't look quite so out of place. Even though I've got this really strong color scheme of the orange and the pink, adding that tiny little pop of green in there does just kind of give me a little bit more variety. It helps it be not quite so, I don't know, themey, I guess, as far as colors go, but it also helps to blend in some of those other pieces where I just couldn't help the fact that there was a little bit of green on there. I added my title, or my die cut that I'm using as a title. I added that on top of my photo, which I had already mounted on foam. So I did need to add a little bit more in behind there. I just used liquid glue to adhere it to the photo itself, and then filled in those gaps with just some craft foam. The craft foam that I'm using is double-sided, so it already has the adhesive on one side of it. When I go to adhere that down, though, I am using liquid adhesive. I just find like my tape runner doesn't quite adhere to the foam in the same way that that liquid adhesive does. Obviously, though, the liquid adhesive does just take a little bit more time to kind of hold, so I do turn the camera off and just let that dry up a little bit. Now my last kind of add onto here was the little gold hearts, and there's a ton of different colored hearts in the die cut packs, and again you can see I'm kind of clustering them into 3 groups. But the reason I'm adding a little bit of gold back into here is that that die cut title is gold foiled, and there isn't really any gold anywhere else on the layout. So I wanted to make that again look a little bit more purposeful, a little bit more like have to have a reason for it being there, and just adding those little gold hearts really does add another dimension, I guess, and I always can't help add a little bit of sparkle into these things. The last thing I'm going to do though is add a few puffy stickers because I do love them. These puffy stickers from this collection, they're so cute. I'm going to need some more, I think. The tiny little puffy hearts and the tiny little puffy butterflies are super duper cute. I love them so much. I'm going to add them into the kind of clusters with the gold hearts just to kind of give me an extra texture, I guess. I don't have a whole lot, like I said, a whole lot of kind of dimension on this layout, and just adding those few little puffy stickers really does make all of the difference. So that's my layout. It all came together in probably less than 30 minutes, definitely less than 30 minutes, probably even quicker than that. I'm going to trim off the few pieces that hang out the edge of my layout and call it done. I really love this layout. It's a super, super easy technique. Really great if you've got a whole bunch of embellishments to use up, as well as all of those scrap papers. I love how this one turned out. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hey friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there are a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you again really soon. Bye!